Right, so thanks everyone for joining tonight's live Q&A with Farsley manager Adam Lakeland. If you want to ask any questions, just put them in the chat function. Adam, thanks a lot for taking your time to come on. I'm sure all of the supporters appreciate it. First of all, how are you doing? Are you all keeping safe and well?
Yeah, very well, thank you, Tom. Obviously, it's strange times, isn't it, and concerning times for everybody. I think the most important thing for everyone at the moment is just keeping safe and following the guidance, and hopefully this will all pass over soon.
What's a normal day in lockdown like for you then?
Well, trying to work whilst having a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old running between your legs. It's not been too bad, to be honest. It's been quite nice. It's obviously you spend a lot of time, working, and managing's it's a full-time job on top of a full-time job. 2-3 nights away from home, and your full days on a Saturday. And when you've got a young family, they're the ones that miss out, I suppose. So it's been nice to have that little bit of extra time, at home with the kids. But of course, we miss football, as I'm sure everybody does.
Yeah, and obviously it looks like we won't be playing any more football in this season. How would you assess that first season in the National League North?
Well, we're still waiting, aren't we? I mean, I think that decision will come either way this week, I'm led to believe. The National League, they've kind of postponed the fixtures as opposed to ending the season. They've put the vote out there to the clubs. The majority of the votes, I think out of 32 votes, there's 24 of them belong to the National League clubs, and there's obviously some very big clubs in that league who still have hopes on getting either out of trouble or promoted. So there'll be a lot of clubs that will want the season to continue, and for us in the north and the south, we're just going to have to follow suit with whatever the other clubs want to do. So hopefully we'll get it resolved shortly, because we do need to know obviously what where we stand as a club, because it's very difficult at this moment in time to plan ahead, because we don't know whether we're going to be the season's done and dusted, or whether we're going to be asked to resume at some point further down the line. I think what is important is that we're safe. That was always our main objective when we got promoted into this division. It's an unbelievably difficult division, but it's one that I think we've equipped ourselves incredibly well in. We've had to be a little bit pragmatic about how we've played and how we've set up at times. To get results to enable us to maintain our status in this league. But I think the players deserve immense credit, as do the staff, for the way in which we've gone about it, because it has been a difficult season. There was, I think, up till probably the turn of the year, we were in the playoffs pretty much all season. As nice as it was to have a good run in the FA Trophy, I think it did take a little bit of the steam out of us in the league. I think back to the beating Altrincham over 2 legs, beating them in extra time away from home. I think the only points that they dropped at home all season up to that point was when they got beat by York. For us to go there and beat them was an incredible result. But it was at a cost, because we lost Jimmy Spencer to a hamstring injury in extra time through fatigue, and he then went and missed all of the Christmas and New Year period again. He'd probably be the first to admit that it did affect him for longer than the weeks that he was out injured for, because he wasn't the same player for a number of weeks. He was trying to get his fitness back, and he was struggling to do that. And obviously he's a massive player for us, as we all know. And then obviously the shenanigans that went on with Barnet, the game getting called off on the Tuesday, lads taking a day off work, travelling down the following Tuesday, warming up and then it getting called off, lads taking another day off work, and then we obviously went down and played it. And equipped ourselves incredibly well. We were well in the game. We conceded a really poor first goal that I still feel to this day that had we not have conceded that goal, I think we would have caused an upset that night. And you look at the team who actually beat them after us, and they went all the way, I think, to the semi-finals. So, I think, in fact, they might even be in the final, but I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, I think we've got to be pleased and proud, really, with how we've gone about this season on the pitch. But there's no doubt that if we're gonna move forward on and off the pitch, there's a hell of a lot of hard work ahead for a lot of people in the coming months.
Right, so now we'll get over to the fans' questions. Hopefully you can see them there in the chat and you can get on with reading them out and answering them.
Favourite home and away game this season? Good one. I think away from home, there's been numerous. Our away record has been absolutely phenomenal, really. The ones that spring to mind, I mean, the York game, the second game of the season, that stands out. And again, in the end, although we rode our luck incredibly in that first half, it's a game that we should have won. We had a great opportunity right at the end of the game where Luke Parkin could have squared it to Jimmy for a tap in, and he's tried to round the keeper, and the keeper's made a great save. But I think winning against Darlington in the first game and then going to York on the Tuesday and coming away with a 0-0 result, that just got us off to a really good start and showed us that we could compete in this division. I mentioned the Altrincham game in the FA Trophy away, Gateshead away, Leamington away. So many fantastic away performances. They'd be probably the standout ones that come to the top of my head. In terms of the home games, I wouldn't say that I've enjoyed many of them, to be honest. I mean, as we all know, it's always windy at Farsley, and the pitch has been incredibly difficult for the players to play on this season. We've had to, play a certain way, be a little bit more direct, and play a little bit more percentage football. And it's not necessarily a brand of football that we've been, accustomed to watching in my previous 2 seasons at Farsley, but it's what we've had to do this season to survive. But I think the Curzon game. It's always nice to win a game. To win a game from a losing position, especially against one of my old clubs, and winning it so late on. And I think the same can be said about the Telford game. Danny Ellis has smashed one in the top corner really late on, and although it was only a draw, it was a game where we thoroughly deserved the draw. So I'd say they're probably the ones that stand out for me. So Ross, what are your thoughts on the divisions below avoiding the seasons, meaning no promotion or relegation? It's harsh, isn't it? I think if it had been 12 months ago, then we'd be gutted, wouldn't we? It's unfortunate that it's our friends up at South Shields. They gave us a bit of stick, didn't they? But they're a good side, them in particular, and I feel sorry for them. I think you're far enough into a season now where people who are up at the top and down at the bottom, they deserve to be where they are, and I do think I think they could have maybe concluded those seasons with points per game. I think that would have been a fairer outcome. Certainly, I mean, you look at South Shields for example, and they're so far clear of people around them. You know, but I think it's harsh, but thankfully it's not something that's going to affect us now. In terms of like no relegation from our division, that decision was made easy for the National League because the club that the divisions below decided there was no promotions. So obviously, if there's nobody coming up, then nobody could go down. I think for us as a club, if we look at it, you know, it's one of our local rivals in Bradford Park Avenue who are obviously going to stay up. You can look at it in a couple of ways. You know, yeah, it's good that we're going to have 2 derbies. You know, a reasonable gate when they come to us, which is much needed revenue for the club. But as manager, I'm looking at it and thinking, well, it's potentially, you know, a club that will either come in for some of our players or a club who will be in the same market for some of the players that we might be, and we're going to have to compete against them now. You know, if they were in the division below, then it might be easier for us to attract people than it would for them. But there's no point in us dwelling on it because it is what it is. So we just get on with it. From Tippy, is that my? I think that's my good friend actually, Tippy. What does it looks like? He's put a sensible question on as well. What does planning look like in terms of player retention and new signings in the current climate? To be honest, it's very difficult. You know, as I said earlier on, it's difficult for us to plan because we don't know yet what's happening with the season that we're currently in. Until we know that, then it's very difficult for us to, you know, to make any decisions on any players. You know, the ones that we currently have, and the ones that we might potentially look to recruit. You know, so hopefully that'll be resolved in the next, you know, week. We get a little bit of clarity on what's going to happen, and from there we can start to plan. I mean, of course, we've got areas of the team where we feel we need to strengthen, and we've got targets in place for that. But that doesn't automatically mean that you're going to get those players. And you know, then we've got to have discussions about, you know, the budget and where we're at. Is the budget going to stay the same? Is it going to go up? Is it going to come down? You know, and obviously that impacts on which players you can go for as well. So there's a hell of a lot that we've got to take into consideration before we can start planning, really. Dominic, any plans for the club to continue investing, improving the facilities? I spoke to Josh earlier on today. Obviously, I voiced my opinions on the pitch quite openly this season because I've been incredibly frustrated with it, as you know, as people at the club, you know, they know and agree with me. So I'm not saying something to you guys that they haven't already heard me say. But Josh has informed me today that there will be some money put to one side to help us invest in the pitch. And again, you know, the sooner that we're given clarity about this season, the sooner that we can start, you know, getting contractors in to do some work on the pitch, because it's, you know, it undoubtedly needs to. I mean, I think it's deteriorated each season since I've been at the club, but on the pitch we've kept moving forwards. And you know, for us to improve as a club, we've got to invest in the playing surface. You know, and ultimately, you supporters, you pay, you want to come and watch a good game of football. You know, and at times this season, I'm the first to admit that, you know, some of the performances they might not have been the best, and you're paying your hard-earned money to come and watch that. But you know, that is always in my mind. But most importantly, you know, it's about results, and we've managed to get results. And if we, you know, if we have to play a certain way in certain games at certain times of the season to do that, then I will always do that. And if the style and the brand has got to suffer as a consequence of it, then so be it, because you're obviously a team that are successful and getting better results more often than not playing a certain way than seeing a team trying to play a way that either the conditions of the facilities, The players don't enable you to, and being down at the bottom of the league, and it's always got to be results of style for me. With players out of contracts and no certainty on next season's start date, how easy, hard is it to put a squad together for next season? I think I've already kind of covered that, Derek, in previous questions. Darren, is there still a future for Paul Walker at a club? Is this level too much? I think this level is too much for Paul. I felt he struggled. He struggled a lot. He struggled, at times last season. Wacker's one of them players when he's on it, he's unplayable, absolutely unplayable. But those games were kind of becoming fewer and fewer. And we had a long conversation at the end of last season, and he was uncertain in himself really as to whether he could still continue to perform at the level up. But he's a great lad, and he's been a fantastic servant to the club, and he's been very, very good for me since I've been at Farsley. And we wanted to give him that opportunity to do pre-season and see where we went. And it's just one of them where he's at a stage of his career where he wants to play and he wants to enjoy his football, and he wasn't. There was people ahead of him, and he got the opportunity to go with John Deasy up to Scarborough, and obviously that didn't work out, and then he just wanted to play a little bit closer to home. So sometimes there comes a point, I think, in a player's career, certainly when they've been a good servant, where you've got to allow them to make their own choices, whether they're under contract or not. So long as they've been good by you, then you've got to reward that. And ultimately, we did that in letting him choose where he wanted to play. Can you explain how the scouting works at Farsley? Do you have scouts, or is it yourself that looks at players? For example, how did you know about Josh Barnes at Derby? Scouting's not easy. We were quite fortunate this season where I've used a couple of people who I've got to know over the years in non-league football, who've gone and watched games and got reports for me. Obviously, we get sent all the videos of the upcoming opposition anyway, so myself or Betsy, we'll have a look through that, and you get to know the teams and the players very quickly. You've got to, and if you don't know, you've got to make it your business to know, because certainly for us, the size of the club we are in, the division that we're in, if we're not prepared and we're not organised and we don't do our homework, then you just go down, because financially you just cannot compete with the clubs that are in this league. Probably the difficult part is having time to go and watch players. You get names flagged up to you all the time, but it's not always easy for you personally to go and watch people. Josh Barnes, he was somebody who I was put onto by an agent, who I've had players off in the past. There's so many of them. Even at our level, you're getting them on the phone, texting you, WhatsApping you, ringing you, emailing you pretty much every single day. And there's good ones and bad ones, like anything there is in life. But we've had a couple of players off this particular agent in the past, and when we needed a goalkeeper, Josh was recommended to me. I spoke to somebody who knew Josh as well to get another opinion, and we took him in, and it was fantastic business for us as a club, because we let Kyle go, and that had to happen. We let Elliot go out on loan, and I think we saved the club a couple of £100 in goalkeeper wages, and I managed to sign Josh Barnes for free until the end of the season, and he's on a lot of money at Derby. So it was a good deal all round for the club, and I think you'd all agree that his performances since he came in have been fantastic. Matt Hill, what footballers did you have on your wall as a kid? Only one, Matt. Alan Shearer. Anthony Ward, what's your true ambition for the club long term? True ambition. When I first came to Farsley, I said I wanted to get them into the Conference North, and I believed that we could do it within 3 years. We came close on the first year. We obviously managed to achieve it in the second year. And this season it was about, staying up, consolidating on the pitch, but we needed to improve off the pitch, and I think you've all seen it in the past. If any football team moves too fast on the pitch in comparison to what it's doing off the pitch, ultimately you're just going to press the self-destruct button, and it's happened at Farsley before. For me now, there's a lot of work that we've got to do off the pitch to support me and the staff and the players going forwards. For us to right now be a team in the middle of the National North, it is probably about right. In fact, you could even say it's probably above where we should be. You look at all the clubs that come to us or where we go to them, and the pitches are good and the club's well polished, and even if it's an aging facility, it's well maintained, it's well looked after. Just the overall levels of professionalism from top to bottom in these football clubs is where it needs to be. And I think that we've made some improvements in certain aspects, but I feel that we've fallen behind in other areas as well, which I'm not afraid to say, because again, I reiterate, I've had these conversations with Josh and now Ian and Graham and Rob, and we just need to see what happens over the coming months. Five-a-side dream team of players you have coached. God, leave that one with me, Matt. I'll come back to you on that one. It's too many. If the pitch is a major concern, would the club ever look to get a 4G pitch installed? Probably not for me to say. I'm a big believer in playing on grass. I don't particularly like playing on artificial. I think it's difficult. I think if everybody was doing it, then it's not too bad. But it's not easy to flip between the two. We've seen it in the past going, and I remember a few in my first season at Farsley, actually, when we played away at Sutton Coldfield, and everybody was saying to me, it'll suit us playing there, and we went, and we were absolutely terrible. It's one of the worst performances of the season, and I think Ryan Watson smashed one in the top corner, and we ended up winning it 1-0, but we were awful. We probably should have lost that game, and I think it's one of them. If you were playing on it every week, then that'd be good. But if you're not, then I'd prefer us to stick on the grass. But with the amount of space that we've got at Farsley, having some kind of 4G surface, for example, on the back pitch would be, I think, a positive thing, because not only does it give the first team, the ladies, the junior section somewhere to train, which saves us money on paying alternative facilities for training and games, but it's also a revenue generator, a really big revenue generator. So I think it's something that I'm sure that the club have looked at before or are looking at the moment, but it's probably one for Josh to answer, I would say. Dave Peters, do we expect us to see more players coming through the academy into the first team next season? I'd love to say yes, but I just don't believe the quality is anywhere near good enough at this moment in time. I'd love, and I would challenge now any of those kids in the academy to come and prove me wrong. I think I've proven over my time, not just at Farsley, but you know, previously when I've worked at other clubs in other roles, like to give youngsters an opportunity. You know, we've done it. We've done it at Farsley with, you know, the likes of Kyle, for example, if you take him. You know, this season at Kiel, Kwame, likes of Isaac Baldwin when he first came to us from Brighouse, Ben Atkinson. You know, we've given young players opportunities in the last 2-3 seasons, but you know, people, and I certainly think the youngsters, I think they underestimate what it takes to be a good player, not a top player, to be a good, consistent performer at this level of football. You know, the sacrifices that players make, you know, time away from home, from the families, lots of travelling, nights out, you know, missing out on holidays, family events, just to perform and be a regular performer at this level of football. You know, you don't, if you had a team full of, you know, up and downers, you'd be an up and down team. What we've got is we've got a group of lads who are honest and they're consistent in the main. You know, they'll have a really bad game every now and again, and they'll be an absolute worldie every now and again. But more often than not, the majority of the players who we have, they give us, you know, 6, 7, 8s every week. And if you've got, you know, the majority of your team that are that consistent, then, you know, generally it breeds a winning formula. I think sometimes with youngsters, certainly who've maybe been in the full-time game at some point, you know, they think that they've got a right to, you know, be released from a Bradford or an Accrington Stanley or a Leeds or whoever it might be, and just walk into a team at our level, and it just doesn't work like that. And when you ask these lads to put in the yards and maybe get some games under the belt and learn about the men's game, and that it's not all easy and it's not all, you know, shadow play, they just don't have the mentality to do that. They think that they can. It's just gonna happen for them, and it, you know, every now and again it will, but in 99% of the cases that I've seen at the 3 non-league clubs that I've worked at, it just doesn't happen that way. You know, it's like anything in life. You know, you put the hard work in, you get your rewards, and if you want to go the easy route, then you get tripped up and forgotten about. So I hope that answers that question. Izzy, what is your preferred formation to play with? Don't really have one, Izzy. You know, if I go back to last season, we made a decision to change system, play with 3 centre-halves, because I felt we had 3 of the best centre-halves, if not the 3 best centre-halves in the division, in Jack Higgins, Danny Ellis, Adam Clayton. Being solid was always going to be the way that we won the league, and we did. This season, we've had to be a little bit more adaptable. We've had to, you know, I think we started the season playing with the same system, 3 centre-halves and wing-backs, and then there came a point where I felt the opposition were finding us out a little bit. They were finding out our deficiencies within that system at this level, just better players in the offensive areas. And, you know, we then changed and went to a back 4, and we went on an unbelievable run. I think we won 5 or 6 league games in a row, and, you know, that obviously propelled us to 3rd at one point. And then we kind of got found out again, and, you know, then we tweaked it again, and I don't believe it. I think you should have certain principles as a team on how you would like to play, but the system, for me, for where we are at the moment, we've got to be flexible with it. You know, different systems, different game plans for different opposition, And but for that, for you to be able to do that, you need intelligent players who are able to adapt, and we've got that. We change systems sometimes from game to game. Countless times we've changed systems within a game to try and either steady the ship or to try and counteract something that the opposition have done, or to try and get a result when we may be behind. And I think the players have done that incredibly well this season. Rue, if the season was to finish with us 11th, would this be a success? And what would the aim for next season be? Aside from trophy winning games, what has been your favourite moment so far at Farsley? I think if anybody would have said to us in pre-season when we were 50-1 favourites to go down that we would finish 11th, I think we would have all, we'd have all snapped your hands off. But as a group, I think it's dangerous to say, yeah, well, we're only playing to stay up. Our aims as a group we need to get to a certain number of points as quickly as we can, and let's see if with 6, 8, 10 games left, we can still be in with a shout of the playoffs. And that's exactly where we find ourselves. I think although we have it all to do with the running that we've got, we would have been delighted with the position that we're in at this stage of the season. My aim for next season would be to improve. We've got to improve. The second season is always the hardest because we're no longer the unknown quantity. Teams will, and they already have, started showing us a little bit more respect. They understand how we work, what our strengths, what our weaknesses are. They know a lot more about our players. And we need to improve as a team. If we're to finish 11th again next season, we need to improve. The aim has got to be, to stay in the division again for me. And if we can, get to the points tally that we need to be safe as quickly as possible, then of course we have to reassess and see where we can go from there. But we can't. You don't become an established team at this level by finishing 11th for one season. You've got to do that 2, 3, 4 seasons before you even consider maybe going up. Because going up, as you see with the likes of Chorley, for example, they've been a very good, consistent, well-established team in the National North for a long time, always round about the playoffs. They went and got promoted the season before, but financially they just cannot compete in the National North against teams that are former Football League clubs full-time, and they're inevitably going to come straight back down. They'll have had a good experience, but now they've got to try and get back up again. And is that going to be easy to do? I don't know. Time will tell. But I think we would have been delighted with 11th at the start of the season. To answer your question, favourite moment at Farsley, it's got to be winning the league. It's got to be winning the league. I've been fortunate that I've had 2 promotions when I was first team coach at Curzon. We won the Evo Stick North, and then the following season we got promoted through the playoffs from the Premier Division, and they were unbelievable experiences. But I was the first team coach then. I wasn't the manager. And to do it, at Farsley, at home, the last game of the season with the staff that we've got. The group of players that we've got, it was an unbelievable achievement. It still gives me goosebumps now when I talk about it. It's I'll never ever forget that feeling and that buzz of us winning the game and everybody spilling onto the pitch afterwards, and just total elation on the pitch and in the dressing room. And in the clubhouse, everybody was buzzing, and ultimately we do it because we want to be successful for ourselves, but we want to make the people of the club happy. You know, the supporters, the people, you know, that put so much, you know, time and energy and effort in, you know, voluntary, just to keep the club going. You know, we wanted to do it for ourselves and for them, and that was undoubtedly, you know, the best moment so far. Who should play for this season? I'm not going to answer that, Derek, because I've never given out. I never believed in giving out a player of the season as a manager, because I demand a lot of all the players, you know, and they give absolutely everything. And it's all about the team. You know, no one individual is more important or less important than anybody else. So for that reason, I don't think it's fair for me to choose one. I think that's pretty much it. Unless anybody's got anything else they want to ask or want to say.
Thanks everyone for coming on and asking your questions. Adam, thanks a lot for taking the time out of your day to come on, and yeah, so thanks a lot to everyone, and hopefully the rest of you have a good evening, and we hope you all stay safe and stay well.
Cheers, Tom. Take care, everybody. Thanks.